Hey, what's going on there, folks? Welcome back here. It's the Earthmaster on this side of the channel, on this side of the microphone, on this Tuesday afternoon, February 6, 2024. It's about 12:30 p.m. here, California time. Latest activity looks like a 3.1 down here in the cluster of activity there, just south of the Middle America Trench. We'll get to the rest of the earthquake activity here in a little bit. Just want to cover California storm totals out here. Over the last couple days, we've been getting quite a bit of rainfall here where I'm at, outside of Chico, north of Sacramento. I picked up about 3.5 inches of rain at my house. Most of that came in on the Sunday time period. Southern California is definitely haven't even seen a break down there yet. Things are still unsettled, and a lot of shower activity down there, and they got more coming up as well. Look at these storm totals out here. About 10 to 15 inches around the Los Angeles area. Up in the mountainous areas, it looks like they've seen a little bit above that. So quite a bit of flooding. A lot of I've seen some water rescues going on down there as well. So quite the storm. This is kind of like a 1 in 1,000 year event, but potentially it could be more normal here as we head into some warmer conditions on Earth. So yeah, gonna have to figure out a way to manage some of that water. Either way, California got a decent soaking. The only areas that seen a rain shadow effect is up here around the San Joaquin Valley. Unfortunately, they got gypped a little bit there on some of the total accumulated precipitation amounts here. Taking a look at the current GFS model, this shows that there's still unsettled conditions out here for today, and roughly this is going to be a pattern throughout the week. I feel looks like maybe we'll dry things up in Southern California Friday, but until then, unsettled conditions with off and on showers. And as I put this into motion here, we do have a little break from the stronger systems, but it looks like potentially the 17th onward, we're looking at some further storms. Doesn't this look like a repeat of the last storm that we've seen? All that moisture funneling in down to Southern California in a fire hose type effect. If this plays out to be true, we could be into some big time trouble down there in Southern California. If we get a secondary event similar to what we just seen. Could you guys imagine that? That would be unprecedented, to say the least. But either way, the models are hinting at another strong atmospheric river to hit the California area again. And specifically aimed right here around the Los Angeles area. Look at those rainfall rates. It looks very similar to what we just seen. So we'll keep an eye on that as we advance a little bit closer towards this date. And it looks like maybe another one behind that. These are way out here, right? This model run is around the 17th. So we're looking at probably about 10 days or so. And way out there, 10 days, yes, they can go off and on. They can be accurate. They could be way off. Either way, we'll keep an eye on these weather models, because once they start showing the same pattern every single run, then we must be watchful, because that means they're on to something out here in terms of the potential forecast and how it's going to play out. So keep an eye on this. We'll cover this on our daily updates. Let's see here. So rainfall through Wednesday. It looks like we have some unsettled conditions here today and tomorrow. These are the potential accumulation amounts out here in Southern California. So we could see another inch or two around the roughly south of Los Angeles area. We're getting that moisture kind of scooting down to the south a little bit, but still unsettled out there in the Southern California region. Of course, higher up into the mountains. And I'm curious, from a scientific type of view, what all this rainfall is going to do to the fault systems down here. Southern California is seeing a lot of rainfall, right? There's a lot of water that fell. Not really concerned about the weight of the water unless we get a whole bunch of precipitation filling up the Salton Sea area or other large reservoirs. Then I could see some effects on the faults. But I'm kind of curious about the lubrication aspect of the rainfall out here. We've seen a lot. I mean, this wasn't just no little dandy 1-inch maker storm system. This was a big time rainmaker, and all that water seeping down below the surface there into some of these surface faults maybe as well. It'd be interesting to see how these play out. This plays out in the days and weeks ahead. If this rainfall doesn't accumulate out here and predict, hopefully not, but potentially see, a larger earthquake out in the Southern California area. There's been some studies on it. Hasn't been 100% proven, but it makes sense, right? A lot of these fault systems that are strained and getting ready to produce a large earthquake. You put some water down there, a little bit of lubrication, and we could see some release of stored up stress out here that's been building up for quite a while. So we'll keep an eye on it. Right now, no sign of that happening. One little earthquake in the Simi Valley area, it looks like, near the Tarzana region, 1.6. But aside from that, Southern California looks quiet for the most part in terms of earthquake activity. Not really seeing a whole lot down there for now. But again, we'll keep an eye on the days ahead. Northern California, about the same, not too much going on. Some activity off the coast here of Oregon yesterday. Now, this is a 3.1. This is kind of a slip strike fault zone here, which would add pressure further down into the Cascadia subduction zone. And we did see a little bit of activity this morning here into the deeper regions of the Cascadia, a 2.2. Look at that depth right there, 37 kilometers deep for that earthquake. So watch this region. We have been seeing some, definitely some deeper movement quakes here into the subduction zone. And not a whole lot of tremor out there. Let me check out the tremor map here real quick. We'll go over to this one, Cascadia tremor. About 174 epicenters of tremor. So this is a little on the uptick here. I can't remember if I covered this last night or not. I don't think I did. So it looks as though that activity we've seen out here across this specific fault system put some further strain out here on the Cascadia. That's where we're seeing the tremor activity take place here. This was definitely yesterday. Mainly it looks like throughout the later part of the day. That's definitely a good sign of some increasing stress out against the Cascadia. And got to watch that because this area is definitely strained. It's been building up, the entire Cascadia has been building up strain since about 1700. So 324 years of built up strain. And we also do have, of course, the potential of only seeing a partial rupture here of the Cascadia. That does take place as well in between, occasionally, but more than likely in between the larger events as far as a full rupture goes compared to just a partial rupture, which is capable of producing about an 8.1 to 8.5 earthquake here, which would still do quite a bit of damage. So we'll keep an eye on that. Definitely showing some signs of interesting activity. All right, further out and about Idaho, what do we got out here? Most of this movement from last night, a couple smaller quakes here this morning. Yellowstone National Park, nothing showing up here on the graph, but let's double check it because you never know when things are happening and nothing's being reported. So let's see, what do we got here? Is this today's? 2/6/2030 UTC time, that is. So a little bit of activity, it looks like around the, I wonder if this is the Idaho area. Could it be? These graphs are, I don't know. Let me go back to the USGS map and see here. I don't see anything specifically around this region. And the last decent earthquake of a size that would make that type of signature is yesterday afternoon. But this is more recent activity. So what is that? Where's that earthquake at? Looks like it's mainly around the northwest corner here of Yellowstone National Park. Did show up here in Idaho as well, so that's kind of why I'm thinking it may be an Idaho quake. But even so, their last one, which was 4 o'clock this morning, they haven't even covered any activity out here recently. So we'll just have to see if they report it. I'm not seeing anything outside the area that would make that type of signature. As far as local seismic activity goes, aside from this one, a couple smaller spikes out here, but nothing major going on for now. Just kind of an interesting earthquake out there, and of course not being reported. Kind of left up in the air of where that's at. All right, Texas area, Oklahoma, still seeing some movement out here in the last 24 hours. Nothing major going on, just some aftershock activity around the Oklahoma area. One earthquake. We're way over here near the South Carolina region. This area does see some swarming on occasion. It's been a little while. Last year, I think it was last year or the year before, they seen quite a bit of swarming here. And it just kind of died off with really no main quake out here. But there is some fault systems that sit out here. And the U.S. hazard map shows these specific fault systems around the area of the East Coast that are capable of producing some large damaging earthquakes. This area of South Carolina does sit within that zone. But for now, a little bit of small microquake activity earlier this morning. Down here across the Middle America Trench, still got a handful of earthquakes coming in here. We've seen it on the Earthquake 3D globe. The latest one, a 5.5 into the Middle America Trench here, just off the coast of El Salvador, 55 kilometers deep into that subduction zone. Definitely seen activity across the Caribbean plate, showing some enhanced movement. We've seen this earthquake last night off the coast of Venezuela. With further movement here along the Middle America Trench, we should continue to watch this area around Puerto Rico and the Caribbean plate in general. That should be putting the strain out there, so to speak, on those regions. What's going on with this here? Puerto Rico, not seeing any quakes here on the globe, but well, this is all from yesterday, but goodness, it should be showing up on the 24-hour map. I don't know why it's not. Either way, still looks like another day of activity on the elevated side. Getting that swarm of activity here clustered. Let's see all these 3s and 4s. That's happening right about here, it looks like, near the Panama area. 4.9 is showing up on the USGS map, but on the globe here, goodness, we have a lot of earthquake activity stirring up in this region. So it looks like something may be building up out here for some larger earthquake activity. Keep an eye on that region. South America area here, Chile region, down south. Typical movement, quite a few 3s and 4s. Nothing big showing up there for now. Did have that oddball earthquake last night out in the southern Pacific Ocean, out in this little basin area. Since then, of course, some 3s and smaller quakes out here against the Peru-Chile Trench, but also a 4.6 here in the this little fracture zone here. Is that Valdivia fracture zone? Alrighty, let's see what else we got here. Alaska region still showing activity, but this is very typical here in any given day to see that many earthquakes. Very small earthquakes, to say the least. Hawaii, well, Kilauea Volcano still showing some movement out here. The latest update, let's go check it out and see what they're calling for across the volcano. Still sitting at a yellow status here, advisory, because of the elevated earthquake activity, but this is a drop down. No thanks, I'm good. I'll do that later, USGS. I don't always take their surveys, but occasionally I do like to help them out. Yeah, so elevated earthquake activity still showing up here on the map near Kilauea Volcano. The tilt meter up here, the UWE tilt around the summit, continuing to inflate. This will be interesting to watch, as we did see a huge deflating event there at the summit region when we seen that shift of magma go from the summit off to the southwest rift zone. Now that's starting to fill back up. So continue to watch that, see how that behaves in terms of reinflation. Earthquake activity out here. A few earthquakes here on the map. Let's go ahead and check out some seismograph stations here, see what we got. Past 12 hours of earthquake activity. Not quite as active as what we had seen during that huge earthquake uptick event there when the volcano notification here got raised up to an orange level. But earthquake activity nonetheless, and that's still continuing. You can see it there across many of the seismograph stations. So things are leveling out for now, but still that shift of magma down there across the southwest rift zone. Be interesting to watch and see how this plays out. Mauna Loa up here, not seeing too much earthquake activity. Things are just kind of quieter across that volcano for now. Go back to the earthquake map here and work our way west. Here's the earthquake down into the New Zealand area yesterday. That was a 4.1, fairly deep there into the southern end of the Kermadec Trench, 207 kilometers. Today's activity in that region, not a whole lot. Not really nothing showing up there on the map. Most of the activity is shifted west here, where we're seeing a clustering of earthquake activity across the Philippines area southward once again. Japan region and the Kuro-Kamchatka showing some elevated activity here in the last 24 hours. Look at this earthquake here in the Kuro-Kamchatka, 5-pointer. Got to watch this area. I keep saying it. This one's well overdue for a mega quake. Just a certain amount of time more, I believe, before we see some larger scale activity here soon. One little earthquake off the coast here of Tokyo from last night, a little 4-pointer. The rest of the world here did have one earthquake into the South Africa area. A little 3.2 being reported by the USGS. All right, excuse me. Had to take care of that off the mic real quick. 4.4 into the straight zone out here. A little divergent boundary. Looks like that's right on the end of it. And the Mediterranean, obviously still seeing some activity. Very typical to see some movement out there. Nothing big. This 4.7 earthquake looks like that's being reported as a 4.2 by the USGS in the Mediterranean Sea, just off the coast there of Athens region. So typical movement out there. Iceland. What's going on up here in Iceland? Most of the activity here from yesterday. I did pull up the Iceland map earlier. Let me see if we got any more earthquakes here on this map. A little bit down from yesterday. Last 12 hours, about 25 earthquakes here in the vicinity across these rift zones, and some down here across the Grindavik area of Iceland. Not seeing any elevated earthquake activity out here, but over the past 24, 36 hours or so, we've seen a little bit of swarming out here offshore, some further activity down along the rift boundary, and a handful of we did see a 3-pointer out here and a couple other earthquakes up north. That was somewhat elevated there yesterday, but the 12-hour map here is a little bit less active, but we'll continue to watch that for some movement here. The Svart-Singi area and the Grindavik area. Let me go check this out in terms of the inflation activity here. Still looks like we're going up a little bit. Obviously, this is extending here into February. No huge declines. This is still a steady uphill type of inflation event. And, I think we're going to see some activity up there pretty soon in terms of eruptive fissure activity. It's still quite inflated underneath the area. All right, what else we got? Anything else going on in Earthquake 3D Globe? Nothing major, right? I'm just kind of waiting on something major. It seems like all this activity, there's a lot of it. There's just a lot of activity, more so on the globe than normal, and scattered all over the place. It's really not just in one region, so definitely a lot of uptick going on here. Space weather activity is another area. We're seeing some elevated solar flare activity here from a departing sunspot region that's down there. That was a source of a large M flare last night. That was sunspot number 3575, produced a long duration M flare. None of this should be geo-effective in terms of reaching the planet. It's definitely facing away from us. We do have a few sunspots, fairly large ones as well, that we're kind of watching. Still looks like this center core here has a potential of seeing some larger flare activity. And of course, the threat remains on the departing sunspot here, the one that produced a large M flare. Still in view, so we still have that threat level elevated. 25% chance for an X flare. M flare around 60% chance. C flare at 99% chance or so. Continue to watch these sunspot regions. That's just a huge sunspot. Look at that, 3576 right there. Beautiful sunspot. Got to keep an eye on that one. That is starting to rotate into the Earth-directed view. And again, it does harbor a fairly decent complex structure. A beta gamma delta structure, and that does harbor the potential of seeing some X-flare activity right there. Right, as far as the auroras go, not a whole lot of hope for the auroras for now, but hopefully we'll get a couple CMEs Earth-directed. No major coronal holes, so it doesn't look like we'll see any solar wind stream from that type of activity for now. Storm Prediction Center do have some, of course, unsettled conditions lingering there across the Southern California area, portions around Las Vegas, and the Arizona area as well. That moves out of the way tomorrow. Doesn't look like we're seeing any more severe weather threats out there. This is just general thunderstorm activity. And a real quick glance here at this tropical, or the tropical tidbits model once again. Look at that massive low pressure off the coast there of Florida. Goodness. Our next storm system comes into the west coast beginning Wednesday night. Not going to be a huge rainmaker, but we will see some rain and some snow. Southern California will get in on the rain and snow as well, but no, definitely nothing like what we've seen here over the last couple days with that huge rainmaker. We do have some colder air coming back down, bringing a taste of winter across the majority of the country. The thermodynamic map here kind of give us a good indicator of what's going on as far as departures from normal. And it does look like we'll see quite a bit of colder temperatures out here across the eastern portion of the country as we head into the middle of February. Not for sure how long it's going to last, but it looks like I jinxed it. There's even a stronger, colder system coming behind that. Looks like days later, so much cooler temperatures on the way for the folks out there across the majority of the eastern portion of the country. All right, guys, I'm out of here. Got quite a bit of schoolwork I got to jump up on and catch up on. There is not a whole lot of activity on the seismograph stations for now, but we'll continue to watch that and report back on any changes that take place out here. Have yourself a good Tuesday, and we'll catch you guys back out here a little bit later on this evening. Take care, folks. Stay safe.